Maybe Newcastle do have strength in depth. How good really is Bruno? And VAR, forget about all the problems we've had in the past. We're friends now. Let's just keep it that way. It's the Black and White Banter final word. Welcome back, beautiful Newcastle fans. Welcome back to Black and White Banter on a glorious, glorious weekend. Into a weekend where I'm sure most of you are still celebrating. We are sitting in the dizzy heights of 6th in the table. We've scored 9 goals in 2 games. And things are just pretty rosy in the garden. And as a Newcastle fan, you've always got to take the good with the bad. Things are good at the moment, so let's just keep enjoying things. If you are new to Black and White Banter, you've never ever visited this page before, you've just maybe stumbled across us during a random Newcastle YouTube search, give us one of these, even one of them if you really must, but the little thumbs up goes a long way and it just takes you a little second getting us on that search bar for more Newcastle fans. And if you like my opinion by the end of the video, make sure you drop down and give us a subscribe. And if you haven't, Black and White Banter is on every single social media channel. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Yeah, that's the newest one. I'm down with the kids on TikTok. So get us on all there as well. So what a weekend, as I said, Newcastle fans. 5 goals. The sun was shining. The takeover anniversary was in full swing. Wor Flags display was absolutely wonderful. And there wasn't really much that went wrong yesterday. You could maybe argue conceding that penalty to Ivan Toney was pretty much the only downer of the whole day. It was one of them perfect afternoons from start to finish. So I'm still absolutely buzzing with that. Look at the league table as the weekend fixtures are done. I know there's one more game to go tomorrow, which I don't think affects us. Nottingham Forest, Villa. Sitting in 6th, Man United just pipped us to that 5th place in the league this weekend by winning away at Everton. But wow, again, going back to the 9 goals in 2 games, just saying that feels nice. 9 goals in 2 games. So I'm going to start the discussion on the weekend. I'm not going to talk too much about the games. I've already done that in the match day vlog. If you haven't already seen the match day vlog, just go down, give it a watch. Wor Flags displays, full-time opinions, fan reactions, fan interviews. Make sure you give that one a cheeky watch if you've got a spare 10 minutes. So strength in depth. Now, I will always, especially when it's anything negative that I've said, I will always happily stand corrected. Anything football-based, I have to say it through gritted teeth, but I will. And I think me and many other Newcastle fans, if you'd gone back 2 or 3 weeks ago, were complaining about strength in depth. When we drew 1-1 against Bournemouth at home, it was that we didn't have the substitutes to bring on, and that the squad was just lacking a little bit, and that's going to stop us. And I've said the same thing. Your Murphys, your Longstaffs, your Frasers, all of these players coming off the bench aren't going to do anything for you. And I don't know now, a couple of games of, like I say, great performances, 9 goals, whether Eddie Howe, being the magician that he's been since he's come into this football club, is trying to get that squad to prove us wrong on that. So Jacob Murphy, for example, I talked about him after the Fulham game in the final word video that I did, so I'm not going to touch on his performance and blow any more smoke up his arse from the game yesterday. It was great to see him score. Him and Sean Longstaff, for me, have been substitutes in the earlier part of the season that have come on and haven't really changed the game in any way for us now. They've now started 2 games in a row and contributed to that 9-goal performance and 6 points as well. Both of them scoring. Longstaff scoring at Fulham last week, Murphy scoring yesterday and being full of energy on that left wing. And I think the performances of both have improved. So, does this flip things a little bit? You've got, on the bench, you've got defensive options. We've got like the likes of Lascelles, who can't even get a sniff. You've got Matt Targett as a substitute yesterday, who for me, I wanted him to play. He's been solid as since he came into the football club. You've got Isaac, what's feeling like the forgotten £58 million man from Bilbao. He's going to come back from injury, hopefully for the Man United game. You've got Ryan Fraser, who never even got a look in yesterday, didn't even come onto the field against Brentford. And suddenly you're looking at that bench that was maybe slated a couple of weeks ago because of Murphy being used by Eddie Howe every single week and doing nothing when he came onto the field, and thinking, hang on, maybe the squad depth isn't as bad as we first thought when everyone's fit. Even in central midfield, you've got John Joe Shelvey now really almost edging to a return. before the Winter World Cup hits. So you've got Bruno, Joe Linton, didn't even play yesterday. There's so many players now that I'm touching on that didn't start. St. Maximin, he's probably going to come back into the starting lineup once he gets fully fit. He only got 10 minutes yesterday. So it's like, shit, maybe what we said a couple of weeks ago isn't the case with the squad depth. And I was one of them heavily criticising that. And that's, not criticising, but saying the transfer window, because Eddie Howe never got some of them summer attackers, the midfielder, the winger that he maybe wanted, that was going to affect us. Now, if these performances keep up, I'm not saying I'm going to get too carried away with the likes of Jacob Murphy and Longstaff just because we've won 2 matches. But Eddie Howe has changed things. He's dropped Joe Linton, who no one ever would have thought would have been a player getting dropped. I didn't. When I saw the team yesterday, I was like, wow, I thought he walked into a Newcastle team with his eyes closed. So we could be looking against Man United next week of a bench that might include Joe Linton, Maximin, Isaac. Jacob Murphy might drop back to the bench, but obviously he's now spurred on from these 2 performances. We've got Matt Targett as a left-back option. We've got Lascelles, Byrne. I don't know. I think these 2 matches have only proved that maybe that those question marks over squad depth have been kind of squashed a little bit. And I still don't think Jacob Murphy is a great player. I don't think yesterday against Brentford in the first half especially, I know he scored that tap-in, but generally speaking, he was the least effective midfielder for me. But, having said that, across both matches as a whole, the last 2 games against Fulham and them, he's been good. I thought against Fulham he was better than what he was against Brentford. So hey, I don't know, maybe we need to just quieten it down a little bit when questioning Eddie Howe's squad, because he is getting the best out of some players. And long may that continue. Long may Longstaff's form continue. Pardon the pun. Next up for me, next topic is got to be VAR. It's been a bit of a rocky relationship between us Newcastle fans and VAR lately, but I have to say, yes, you've pissed us off in the past, but you're doing your best at the moment to make it up to us, and I'm going to just try and let bygones be bygones. If you're going to keep giving us these decisions, so obviously last week we had the red card at Fulham 6 minutes in, totally flipped the game and allowed us to go on and absolutely batter them. Yesterday, it looked a bit of a debatable one. Obviously, Ivan Toney, did he touch it, did it not? But we have now had 2 VAR decisions go in our favour in 2 days. So I don't know whether someone is sat eating his packet of crisps in the VAR studio, as I've made a jokey video of, and gone, do you know what? We probably due Newcastle a couple of decisions now. Them Geordies are getting around backs on social media. So hey, VAR, absolutely fantastic. No flaws in it at all. It's changed the game for the better. And us Newcastle fans have never had any issues with it. And long may it continue to be the fantastic functioning system in football, making the game better. As long as those decisions keep going in our favour. So who would have thought I would have been saying that on a video? Certainly not me. Bruno, the magic man, the magician. He's just absolutely brilliant, isn't he? And I came away from the game yesterday. Yes, I gave my man of the match to Joe Willock because I thought Joe Willock stepped it up a notch. We know what we expected from Bruno now because of how classy he is. We knew he was from the first couple of matches that he kicked the football for us. But Joe Willock's been a bit quieter. Maybe in the final third, I think he does a lot of unnoticed work, lots of running, lots of graft for the full 90 minutes, and he's a great box-to-box guy to get us out when we want to surge up the opposite end of the field. So that's why I gave Joe Willock man the match yesterday. But Bruno, for me, I couldn't help but think, what kind of a player do we have on our hands here? Because in my opinion, he's only probably at about 70 to 80%. He said in his interview he's playing the best football that he's played. I'm still not sure we've seen the full magic, the full magician at work. He hasn't pulled any of his tricks out yet. He hasn't pulled the rabbit out of a hat. He hasn't pulled the long handkerchief out of his sleeve because he's still adapting to the Premier League. He only joined us in January. He's chucked straight into the deep end. He's come back from a couple of injuries. I don't always think he maybe has some of the better players around him. I think Bruno is a player who's only going to thrive off bringing more players in as we develop as a football club that are of his same wavelength mentally on the football pitch, one step ahead of the game. So I still think he has room to get even better, and that's what's exciting and that's what's almost scary, because let's face it, Newcastle fans, other clubs are going to be sniffing around Bruno. Real Madrid were linked in the summer. He's a Brazilian international. All he has to do in the next month in Qatar is have a fantastic tournament at the World Cup if he starts. And you've got even more teams sniffing. So he decided to join us in January when there was apparently a lot of interest in him. That said, absolute leaps and bounds to me about where he is and what he gets excited by. You can argue money, but nah. He'll have been offered thousands of pounds wherever he went. He saw a project at Newcastle and he wanted to play in the Premier League. Now, for me, it looks like he's loving Newcastle. He's talked about how he feels like the mayor of the city when he's walking around. So I don't think he's going anywhere in a hurry. But it is imperative that we continue to grow in this project to keep players like him. I talked to a couple of fans about it on my match day vlog yesterday, who all said how great he played, and they all gave him the man of the match. We need to build around him. The likes of him, the likes of Botman, the likes of Isaac, who we've obviously just brought in and haven't seen enough of. These are the players who've got, their age is great. They've got 7, 8, 9 years of football in them ahead of us. We need to build a team around them. And Bruno, for me, is only going to get better. But what a performance yesterday. I mean, the little knock when he knocked it round the midfielder and then pinged it out to Trippier. He literally said, see you later, mate. Come back when you're a million times better, or even a patch on my level. It was just incredible. Everything he did yesterday was silky. His header was good, which you don't expect to see a header from a free kick, from a cross from a player like Bruno. That was brilliant. His finish, how he took the ball off the player in midfield, charged forward and banged it in a time where Brentford had just got back in the game, was fantastic. And you just love to see him. Everything's easy, everything's silky, and he's one step ahead with everything, and he's always looking for that pass. Even go back to the Fulham game last week, that weighted pass into Almiron for that wonderful goal he scored. He's a man on form at the moment, and he's getting me excited about what levels he can get to, because I do honestly think we haven't even seen turbo mode 100% Bruno. I'm just going to finally touch. Last week I touched on the fans down at Fulham. This week I'm going to finish on Wor Flags. Wor Flags, Wor Flags, Wor Flags. Other teams around the country are trying to emulate what you guys are doing for us at St James's Park, and it's an absolute joy to be a part of. I love walking up the steps at 5 to 3 because I go into the ground quite late, and just looking out over the Gallagher and seeing what you've managed to pull out the bag again and again and again. And Saturdays, the Sky Sports News creation, the square of the takeover being completed, was absolutely incredible. And even the cheekiness to stick the stuff about Simon Jordan on the bottom saying that the takeover was dead last year on TalkSport was another masterstroke. And I feel like Wor Flags is taking St James's Park to a new level. We've only lost one game in 15. It's become a total fortress, which I haven't known it to be over the years under Ashley. And I think that is massively down to the atmosphere that's created before. Wor Flags gets us going as a fan base. The songs start as soon as the flags are put down. And the noise levels for me in St James's Park are some of the best I remember in my lifetime. Going back to the Bobby Robson days, 100%. You can maybe argue the Pardew season when we finished 5th. But some of the noise levels, and that's only being helped by them Wor Flags. If anyone is watching this video, I know it's very unlikely, hats off to yous again. And I've got no doubts about it. There's going to be more surprises from you guys as the season goes on. If we can manage 52,000 tin sheets like against Arsenal last season, I don't know what's next. Is it a flag across the whole city? Over the Tyne Bridge, the quayside? All the way over, so the whole city, even people doing shopping in Eldon Square, have to come out and hold the flag up. That's probably what's going to happen next. But yeah, I just wanted to finish on that one because it was a wonderful atmosphere to top off what has been an absolutely wonderful weekend. So, Newcastle fans, if you've liked this video, if you've liked my opinions, and you've maybe watched my match vlogging like that, if you haven't already, it's just down there. Please drop down, give us a subscribe, and in the comments, let me know what you took away most from this weekend. Is it Bruno's performance? Is it our extra strength and depth we maybe didn't know we had? Or is it that wonderful Wor Flags display? Or anything else? You might have had a really good pie in St James's Park that you want to tell us about. Drop in the comments. Let me know. Man United next week, the big one in my eyes. It always is the fixture I look out for. So I'll be touching down for a match preview for that. And hey, who knows? I might even get a video in before then. So I'll see you on the next one, Newcastle fans. Enjoy the rest of what has been a wonderful weekend. Away the lads.